You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome. There's something in the air, the dream of life in love, with minds that rest in prayer, sparking joy we're in awe. No matter where your path has been or time has somehow flies, like souls will come home again, true friendship ever thrives. Is this where the magic happens? Can you feel the hearts revealed right now in you and me? The secret is wherever we are. There's something in a smile that can turn a day around. Moments so worthwhile when we find common ground. No matter what the day might bring, right here we can align, knowing that we will be seen as perfect, whole, divine. This is where the magic happens. Let's feel all the hearts, close to me and me to you. The secret is wherever we are. So meet me where the magic happens, feeling all the hearts ignited now in you and me. The secret is wherever. The secret is whenever. The secret is together we are.
Good morning. You have come to the place where the magic happens. Thanks, Shay, for all your musical contributions. I just love that song because this really is where the magic happens, where we create a lot of magic together. Connection, spiritual conversations, some really deep connections. So we're really happy you joined us here at Center for Spiritual Living, St. George this morning. I'm Marina Anderson, and I am your host for the day. We are an open, loving, and inclusive community that supports thinking creatively and living a deeply spiritual life. I have found personally some amazing tools and connection and a path to really the deepening of my own spiritual life. And I'm so grateful to Center for Spiritual Living for that and all the folks involved here. So here is our service team for today. Mr. Bill Smith is behind the scenes, making all the technical things happen. Again, I'm your host, Marina Anderson. Our fabulous music today is provided by Shay Barlow, and she selected a couple of my favorite songs today, so I'm super excited about that. I'll be singing along here. I hope you will join us in that as well. The invocation will be provided by Chris McCardle, one of our practitioners. The reading will be provided by Sue Fulmer, who is finishing her practitioner training. So she will have that RSCP after her name in the very near future, which so excited for her. And of course, our very own senior minister, Reverend Joe Kovach, is here to provide the talk and message today. And it should be a good one. We're talking about light and shadow and inner and outer spectrum today. So I think it'll be a good conversation here. And I'll just plug at this point. We hope you will join us for the Zoom conversation after service. So I am going to encourage Bill to bring up Shay. There she is.
Good morning, Marina.
All right, looking forward to your music today, Shay.
Thanks, Marina. So we're going to go ahead and get into that inner place, just that place of peace and that place of knowing. I will go ahead and go through this song one time, and then Chris will pop in and he will share a beautiful invocation, and then Marina, or Bill actually, will pop the lyrics on screen so that you can sing along. I welcome each day. I trust the divine, choose which path to take, which thoughts to align, to find peace so sweet, the truth of my soul, it's all that I need. I have faith and know, to find peace so sweet, the truth of my soul, it's all that I need. I have faith and know. I lead with my heart. I breathe and expand and make room for God to better my plans, the good I desire. Await in the flow, each moment a gift. I have faith and know the good I desire. Await in the flow, each moment a gift. I have faith and know.
Good morning. I'd like to invite us to just become present, just become open. Just allow the service of today to bring you inspiration, joy. And in this, we recognize that there is an energy in this universe, an energy filled with light. And that light flows in and through all things. It flows in me and it flows in you. As I recognize that light, I also recognize that at times, just like the moon crosses before the sun, there are shadows. It doesn't mean that the shadows are our life and our existence. It simply means that for a moment in time and in space, there's something deeper for us to recognize. And that's when we know that that light is right there behind the moon. So I open service with a delight in knowing that each one here is open and willing to express and recognize both the light and the shadow. And that we do this work individually and collectively to make ourselves better human beings and to bring that joy and to bring the love into our life. That the darkness might be staring us in the face at the moment, but the light is always just right behind it. And so I just give gratitude for this recognition, gratitude for knowing that at any moment of any day when the darkness arrives, I can reach for the light. And I invite you to do the very same. So let's open service this morning with Reverend Joe, bringing us some insight and wisdom to as how this work is to be done. So with this, I open service in gratitude for everything that has occurred for all of you out there and for the light. And I affirm these words by saying, so it is.
So it is. Beautiful. Thank you, Chris. I welcome each day. I trust the divine. Choose which path to take, which thoughts to align, to find peace so sweet, the truth of my soul. It's all that I need. I have faith and know to find peace so sweet, the truth of my soul. It's all that I need. I have faith and know. I lead with my heart. I breathe and expand and make room for God to better my plans. The good I desire awaits in the flow. Each moment a gift. I have faith and know the good I desire awaits in the flow. Each moment a gift. I have faith and know. And now I'm thrilled to welcome Sue Fulmer to do our sacred reading. Good morning, Sue.
Good morning. Thank you, Shay. I have faith and know. That's beautiful.
Amen.
The reading today is from our May issue of the Science of Mind magazine. It's my daily companion. And every day there is a quote from our founder, Ernest Holmes. On May 2nd, he said, daily we should practice affirming that our cup is filled and running over. Always remembering that what we affirm for ourselves, we must affirm for others. The May guides are written by Reverend Joanne McFadden. And on May 2nd, she writes a story. Each day this month, she's telling stories, inspirational stories of people that have overcome the shadow. She quotes, Ivan Fernandez had an unexpected opportunity as he neared the finish of Spain's Burlada cross-country race on December 2nd, 2012. Kenyan runner Abel Matai, who had been about 30 meters ahead of him, was the sure leader. However, about 10 meters before the finish, Matai stopped running. He mistakenly thought he had already crossed the finish line. This was Fernandez's chance to pass the elite runner and take the gold. Instead, he shouted at Matai to keep running. When that failed because of the language barrier, Fernandez came up and started pushing him to the finish line, making sure he crossed first. When a reporter asked Fernandez why he gave up first place, he said, my dream is that one day we can have some sort of community life where we push ourselves and also others to win. Some spiritual teachers say the best way to get what you want is to help someone else get what they want. And that is what Fernandez did. When we desire good for another, we cannot help but attract good into our own lives. And I want to refer to our minister, Joe Kovach, the newsletter article that he wrote this month about his love for hockey and the interesting playoffs that are happening right now. And I want to quote him, remember, we are all in this game together. We're all in the game together here at CSL. So let's give it our all. Thank you.
We sure are. Thank you so much, Sue. So, Ab, you've heard this year we are living out loud, and welcome to a brand new month. It's May, and we are looking at light within the shadows. Today's talk show will focus on the inner and outer spectrum. And in terms of your shadow, author Ollie Anderson offers this, writing, "Your shadow isn't a thing or even a place, but a relationship that you have with certain parts of yourself that you've hidden. By improving this relationship, you can improve your life." And writer Sasha Graham adds, "The shadow is needed now more than ever. We heal the world when we heal ourselves, and hope shines brightest when it illuminates the dark." And knowing the truth about ourselves and even for others is the key, right, in healing, in doing that healing work. And that is a good reminder for us. And this is a song that probably most of you know that Cyndi Lauper made famous, written by Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, called True Colors. Beautiful song. You with the sad eyes, don't be discouraged. Oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all. The darkness inside you can make you feel so small. But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors. That's why I love you. Don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful, like a rainbow. Show me a smile then. Don't be unhappy, can't remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, just call me up, 'cause I will always be there. And I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors. That's why I love you. Don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are beautiful, like a rainbow, like a rainbow. Okay, Marina, back to you.
All right, that was a nice version. I really liked that. It's very mellow and so appropriate. I really loved it. Thanks, Shay.
Perfect.
All right, as Shay was saying, we are living out loud this year, and in May we're talking about the light within the shadow, and today's talk again is the inner and outer spectrum with our lovely Reverend Joe. Come on up, Joe, and let's hear what you have to say today.
There we go. I was coming up to the surface.
Yeah. That's great.
Oh, thank you, Marina. How are you today?
I have a little bit of a spring cold, but other than that, I'm doing just fine.
I feel you. Thank you for the beautiful introduction.
Yeah.
Oh, and good morning. And I'm going to disclose that I'm also feeling a little bit of allergies, or I'm going to blame my cat or something. So my eyes are like, I swear I'm not a vampire. I'm just having some kind of reaction, I guess. So I'm going to do the best I can. So I first want to start out by thanking Chris, practitioner Chris McCardle, for the beautiful prayer this morning. And he always does, all of our practitioners do a fabulous job. And I want to give a shout out to them for doing that. The practitioners unplugged, or plugged in, I believe they call it now, and talked their talk last week. And we have such a talented group here. So thank you to each one of you for that. And if you didn't catch it, you can go back and watch it on our YouTube channel. Excuse me. And Sue, thank you for the reading and the shout out. And yes, I have a definite love of hockey. We're going to leave it there because I could talk for the next 2 hours on hockey. And then Shay, beautiful. I love that song. I grew up in the 80s, and that song still, and there's a couple of her songs that just, Chris prayed about being present in the moment. And those really helped me get present. So what a talented group we have here. And Marina, thank you for hosting, and Bill's in the back. And how are you today? It's May 7th. Oh my gosh, like seriously, time is literally flying. And I did have the week off last week, and my family and I, we went to, I think it was Irwindale, Florida, to the Renaissance Fair, and participated in and got dressed up, and saw some jousting and some crazy people, and it was a lot of fun, good food. So life is going well. It's busy. How are you dealing with the light and the shadow? That's the question, because really this is a daily question, right? The light and the shadow. And we're talking about lights within, and today particularly the inner and the outer spectrum. And look, I'm just going to start as we talk by saying, welcome to thank you for being here, and take what you can get. This, lights and shadows, this can get really deep and psychological and so forth. It may trigger you. It would allow whatever happens to happen, and know that there is support if you need it, and know that you're perfect just the way you are. I'm no different than you. We all go through our stuff, and it's a process. So hopefully I say something that inspires you today, that helps you maybe move past a point if you're feeling stuck. And so as we talk about light and dark, it's really kind of easy to think that they're separate, but we recognize the wholeness of everything. And while they may seem to operate differently and independently, they're actually together. We're going to talk about that. They're a pair, and they're a powerful pair when we kind of tap into, I guess, looking at them in the right way, right? And that's what we talk a lot about living spiritually, is how do we choose to see things showing up for us, for the world, and so on. And so we're going to jump in and take a look at that. And with all things we talk about, particularly in Science of Mind, the New Thought umbrella of philosophy, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so there's the inner, there's the outer, and it can get very, feels almost like too much at times. Like I remember starting out in New Thought saying, I just start paying attention to my thoughts. And in the beginning, it was a boatload of what I would call negative thoughts. And there's many times when I just stopped because it was too much. And that's okay. Wherever you are, that's okay. But I also want you to know that there is a better place. Doesn't have to make you wrong. And just as when we talk about the shadow and the light, one is not wrong and one is not right. Okay, because as we know in Science of Mind, and we start with the groundingness, that it's all one, everything. And we're going to talk about and remind ourselves that. We're going with regards to starting out with like a Science of Mind viewpoint. We believe that we're born of what we call the universal creative process. God, spirit, again, whatever word works best for you, source energy. And we kind of talk about the idea that there is this unmanifested, what's a better word? Unformed consciousness, right? So that's why when we talk about there's infinite possibilities, that it's kind of like this invisible, and I love the words Greg Braden uses, nebulous soup. It's like energy, but it's thought. And it's all there, it's all possible. And we, through our individual connection to that, whatever we focus on calls that down into form. And we are, even our bodies right now, we are that form. And we are also that connection. And we are also that higher, what we call higher consciousness. But it's all one. And so we are the light, the source of the world. And we are also living in the shadows. But again, that's not bad. We're going to take a look at that. It's important. So let's start off with a quote from Ernest Holmes, our founder, and he says, "The Spirit of God dwells in the inner man inner man with power and might. The outer man reflects the spirit, insofar as the intellect allows it to come forth into expression." So what are we talking about here? Oh, I don't have my laser on. 1 second. There we go. So we're talking about this idea that, yes, we have this inner spot. This is our thoughts, our emotions. This is where our power lies, our power of choice. And how do we know what we're focusing on, what we truly believe? Well, it shows up in the outer world. And that's what we teach over and over and over again, so many different ways, that we have this spirit, this consciousness, this indwelling presence within us that is Source itself. And we uniquely as Source, okay, create. We're co-creative. And when we talk about co, meaning it's not just little Reverend Joe doing this, because little Reverend Joe is this one focus of the source of all. And so if I want to know how I'm feeling and thinking about something, all I have to do is look around and pay attention to how life is coming back to me. It mirrors, our life mirrors the inner. So the outer mirrors the inner. And, you know, we have our easier way to, because I'm a visual person, to understand this is to look at our teaching symbol. So I'm going to do this briefly, but we do have classes that go much more into depth, and I strongly suggest you hop into some. And yes, we will be having classes, so stay tuned for that. But this is our teaching symbol. This is one version of it. And so quite simply, notice that, first of all, this circle, it's a circle to show that everything is inside, in a sense, of God, but really the idea that Ernest Holmes talks about, that there is no border to that which is God. It's a circle that has no boundaries. And then there's kind of 3 levels that it helps we break up this idea. And this V, I'll go over that, but this V is showing this idea of consciousness from spirit, which we would call Source or God. It's all God, but spirit, the highest clear consciousness, that comes down into what we call the law. So this is the law of attraction. So we have these thoughts. The law says yes, and then they show up in the body of God or the effects or the world. I'm going to say that again slowly. So our thought, we focus on as it comes through, whatever we focus on, this law, the universal law that says yes. In the Bible, they use the word Lord quite often. Lord means law. It's like, again, seed. We have a seed. I want to plant an apple seed. The soil says yes every time. The soil never rejects anything we put into it. It just says yes. And then it shows up as the plant. And so this shows thought coming down and then returning back to Source. And this is our teaching symbol. So all this light, all this, the shadow, the light, it's all within this thing that we call life, God, nature, spirit. Fill in the blank. Okay, I like to call it God and Spirit and Source. Those are my probably, although lately I've been calling it infinite intelligence, because again, there's no border to this, folks. It's open, it's endless, it's infinite. And thank God for that, right? So this is why we always have chances to change our thinking and change our lives. As we change what we pull from divine consciousness, we change our lives. So if I'm constantly thinking negativity or anger, and what happens? I plant that anger seed. The law, the soil says yes. And then people show up angry, situations show up angry. And then if I'm stuck, I'm blaming other people. In this philosophy, this is the inner that we're talking about. So we're talking about ourselves moving forward and through these points. And it's not all easy. We have our trigger points. Right? So this is kind of how we process on a daily basis the light and the dark. There's like a distribution center within us, and we have our consciousness, which is what we're aware of. Okay, and then we have subconscious, which is kind of like the programs that are running under our awareness. Now, that's not wrong. That's not bad, because I don't want to have to think about my heart beating and blinking and all that. And I'm going to move my hand and I have to concentrate. Certain things are subconscious. They're on automatic. That's okay. But part of our work is also recognizing when we're not happy or we want to move forward in our lives, maybe there's some things that are unconscious in the dark that we're not aware of, that we put there, that are no longer serving us for our best and highest good. So the inside, this is a space where if we look, we can find and discover deep healing. And that can happen when we look in what we call the dark. And that the dark is not bad. It's just the places that we're unsure of. This is one way of looking at it. Okay, there's a couple different ways of looking at the light and the dark. So what we know is when we calm our minds and we go within, and when I talk about going within, is we just allow ourselves to think and be without harsh criticism, without judgment. And this is a spiritual practice. And we are allowed to become aware of our subconscious thoughts, the thoughts that we're not aware of right away. And if we ask, look, it's mind over matter. So if I say, okay, what do I need to work on now? And then I sit with myself and be quiet, then I'm able to allow that, whatever it is, to come up. And that's called going within. And this will help us to shift our thinking. And it's important. It's one of the probably most important things we do, is that with regards to a principle or a foundational idea of science of mind, is that our inner focus, okay, what we're thinking and holding, affects our outer experience. So why wouldn't we want to know and have an idea of what's going on, even in those light areas? I mean, because the light, the bright, meaning it's out in the open and awareness. But if we're not really paying attention to it, right, how do we know that that's happening for our best and highest good? So as we search the inner happenings, the inner landscape, and kind of take inventory of what's going on there, then we can use have an intentionality, that's the word, intentionality, and purpose to switch and switch our thinking and understand our feeling, and literally change what's showing up in our lives. And so if we're going through the day and there's so many examples, it's funny. Let me see. So there's just I'm having a rough day. As a matter of fact, the other day I had kind of a sense of just downness. It wasn't depression, it wasn't sadness, it was just heavy. And I sat with that. And here's a key thing that we can practice, that you can do, that we can do, which is, there's a difference between saying I'm angry and I'm feeling angry, right? So if I say I'm angry, that means I'm telling myself, programming myself to be angry. Whereas if I'm feeling angry, then I recognize there's a feeling of anger, and now I can go within and take a look at that, and maybe what's lying in what we call the shadows, the things that we're unaware of, that we maybe don't want to look at. Or again, it might just be a program a behavior, in other words, a program of behavior that we created so long ago, often as children, little children, when we're not even really, we're totally unaware of what we're doing, but we carry that with us into our older lives, even teenage, but it no longer serves us. And so it does serve us to take time to look at that. Ernest Holmes said, I missed a, did I jump? 1 second. I'm going to have to read this one to you because that's not what I want to write. That one's really out of place. All right, well, let's see if it's there. There we go. All right, so this is a quote I want to share. Thanks for your patience. So Ernest Holmes says, there, through the door of our own thought, we enter into the universal consciousness, meaning all that's been thought before, into a complete realization of life and truth, of love and beauty. So it's all there. That love that we're searching, the life that we're searching, the freedom that we want to feel, it's all there. And we kind of have to walk through that door, meaning we have to take that time to go within the inner door and not just try to change things on the outside. Because what did we say earlier? What I say is that the outside is a reflection of what's going on the inside, but I can't change the inside from the outside. The source comes to and through us, and then the energy is manifested out. So it's kind of like a motion picture casting what's going on. But in the motion picture, I can't go up to the movie screen and change what's going on the screen. We have to change it from the film or the source of where the source is coming through, and that's our thoughts. So when we're doing this, it's important when we're doing this. What does that mean? When we're looking at our light and our shadow, when we're looking at what's showing up that we're happy with, and the things that we're in love with, and the parts of life that just fill us with life, right, with energy. And when we're looking at those times, sometimes it's often we behave in a way that causes us to look at, there's something going on that I'm not aware of. Why was I so angry? Why am I so snarky? Why am I so sarcastic? And so on, and not in a good way. That's where we go into what we call the shadows, meaning the things that we're not aware of again, and that may be limiting our experience of life. So one of the things what I suggest is that when we're looking at our outer experience and recognizing it as a reflection of our personal expression, right? We have to own it. We got to take responsibility, radical responsibility. Whatever's showing up, we have a relationship to the light and the dark and the shadow. So are we being honest with ourselves? We have to do this from a place of saying, okay, and maybe we need help doing this, but what's really going on? Right? Can we, it might be a difficult question, but what's going on? I'm showing, I'm getting this feedback from reality, from life, from people, from jobs, from religion, from friends, from neighbors, from husbands and wives and significant others or whatever have you, and children. And maybe it's not what's going on here. Now, we're not in charge of other people, right? Other people may be showing up in some ugly ways. It doesn't mean that we're being ugly. But what is our relationship to that? And what I mean by that is, okay, if somebody shows up in this opportunity, it could be that I'm in that match. I'm attracting a like equals like match, the law of attraction, meaning I'm angry, so I'm attracting other people that are angry. It could also be, and the people don't think about this often, is it's an opportunity to change. If I want to be a peaceful person, how does that happen? Well, I'm probably going to attract some experiences, some reality that shows up where I can prove and have a chance to be of peace. So that's kind of the interesting spot where when we're being honest and authentic, okay, there's light and dark. Is it really separate, or is it the same thing? And you're looking at it through a different intentionality, through a different purpose, through a different state of being. And there's kind of two states of being. There's love and there's fear. And when we're acting out of fear, then we may start trying to change things for, in a sense, all the wrong reasons and still not get to that experience that we want. So again, simply shifting from a sense of anger to a lesser sense of anger, right? Frustration is a lesser sense of anger, or I just want to be at peace. If we're trying to do that out of fear, think about that. That means fear comes from a place of belief that we're separate from all that is. And so it's just little us against the world kind of attitude. That doesn't work too well. And many of us are on that path. I've been there, and I'm sure I'm there in some areas. But this is what doing this inner work does for us. It brings the shadows to the light, and in a sense, to be healed. Like, okay, why am I behaving this way? Oh, well, finally, I'm ready to look at this. What is this? Now I bring that. Why? Because the light that we talk about in the sense of, I don't want to use the word good, but I use the word good, sacred and godly. But again, even then I say that means, oh, well, the shadow is ungodly. No. See, this is why it can get complicated. But it's just like this light part of this is the life experience that I want to have versus this thing's kind of holding me back. Maybe it's like driving with a flat tire. If I'm not paying attention, I'm not going to have the joy ride that I want to, but all of a sudden I'm willing to look and go, oh, what is this vibration? I never even paid attention because I just blocked it out. And now I can have the idea to shine light, meaning bring it to our awareness, my awareness, and fix that. Whether it's a quick easy flat fix, or we have to get a whole new tire, meaning we have to change, just tweak what we're doing from the inside, or maybe we need a wholesale new belief system, new program, so that, again, our life, this is all, like, this whole philosophy is about living the most freest and fullest life experience while we're here. And this philosophy, if you're listening now, many of you know, and how it can positively affect our lives. And not only that, but we become role models for others. It's a whole nother talk right there. So I'm going to pause. So what are we really demonstrating in our outer experience? And is it in alignment with what we want to be experiencing? That's the question we should be asking constantly to ourselves. And when it's not, okay, we can go and blame everything happening, or we can go within. Now let's see if my slides are correct. Good. Thomas More. Love it. If you've never read this book, Care of the Soul, I will say it's a deep read. I've read it 3 times, but it's masterful. He says, a soulful life is never without shadow, and some of the soul's power comes from its shadow qualities. If we want to live from our depths soulfully, then we have to give up all pretenses to innocence as the shadow grows darker. So we have to give up all pretenses to innocence as the shadow grows darker. What I take that to mean is that we got to own it, and own it all. Own it all. And that's hard sometimes. Why is it hard? Because I recognize something within others, then I go, oh, and I judge others. I'm pointing out there harshly, right? What do they say about when we point at others? 1 finger's pointing outwards and 3 are pointing back at us, right? I got that from Debbie Ford the first time I heard that, the author who wrote a lot about shadow work. So when we own it, then we have to go, oh my God, I'm behaving as that person. Oh, and then so we don't even want to look at it. Okay. But we're talking about having the power to say, yes, I can look at this. Again, this is where practitioners help. And we have amazing practitioners, and to help us shift and understand where maybe our thinking is causing a separation between ourselves and what we believe is God. And that's everything. So the outer spectrum, again, is on, is on the visible and how we navigate through and engage in life. But again, that's all stemming, what we're going through starts here. So going back to this idea of the seed and then the soil and the plant, right? So it all comes to fruition. What I'm thinking and what happens when I think a thought long enough, the soil, God, the law of attraction says yes every time. And then it manifests. And a quick understanding of this idea of the law of attraction. If everything I think about the law says yes, the soil says yes, no matter what seed, if I'm planting weeds and I'm not aware, all these weeds grow up around me. And I'm like, what's happening? Well, I have to take responsibility for that. Okay. So I just lost my train of thought. I got to get it back. So this idea, of planting is, if we're saying no, let me put it this way. If we're saying no to something, then we're still planting that no. There is no saying no, there's only yes. What do I mean by that? If I'm saying I don't want this, then this is what's being planted. Why? Because that's what I'm talking about, right? That's one of the reasons why the whole don't do drugs campaign failed, right? Because if I say don't do drugs, what word do you hear stand out? Drugs, right? If I don't want to be angry anymore, okay, that's a start. I'm not going to make it wrong. But what do we really want? This is how we shift. Well, what I want is peace. What I want is a sense of confidence wherever I go. What I want is to feel safe. Then let's plant seeds of those thoughts and experiences. All right. So this last kind of thing I'm moving into, so we went from kind of just generally looking at this idea of us going within, kind of being this processing center of light and shadow. Secondly, we're kind of looking at the idea that our authenticity matters, and being honest and taking radical responsibility is going to be the best viewpoint to take on this journey. It's not somebody else's job to change my life. And then this third section, I call the great both and. And this is kind of where we look at this idea that they're not separate. The shadow and the dark is what, the shadow and the light. That we are creatures that, in a sense, need both while we're on this earth. And if we look at one as bad and one as good, then we're missing the point. Because I'm going to show it in a minute, but I'll wait for a second. So how we do our looking is what I want to say matters, right? So again, am I looking at things as good and bad? Not the best way. It's a start. But when we do that bad, that makes it sound like we don't want it. We should cast it out. And anything we cast out is outside of God. But there's nothing outside of God. I wish I was in person so I could emphasize that more. There is nothing outside of spirit. So if I say I don't want that, okay, that may be our personal choice, but we can't get rid of it. So therefore, is anything ever bad? Because what we say is bad is somebody else's good. How can that be? Well, if I'm going, let's say I'm feeling on the emotional scale, and I like to do low to high, make sure I'm trying to look at myself here. If I'm feeling, one of the lowest feelings is disempowerment, right? And then anger is way up here, believe it or not, compared to, so disempowerment feeling you have, there's no hope, there's no sense, it's just you're utter powerless. Anger is an absolute source of energy compared to this. But if I'm talking from up here and I'm already feeling pretty good and I want to avoid anger, but I can't kick this out of reality because this, which maybe looks as quote bad to me, is great to the person who's feeling disempowered, because if I'm angry, I'm feeling empowered. I'm feeling, right? At the disempowerment level, I'm not feeling at all. Right? So we got to really stop saying good and bad and recognize what experience do we want to have. Okay, we tend to think of God as the light and the good, and our self-judging thoughts is wrong and bad, and those are the shadow thoughts. When I hesitate to look at that way. And again, when I talk like this, I don't want to see like I'm way up here, folks. I am not. I am truly one of you. I'm in the trenches every day. There are things that I'm sure that will come out in years to come that I'm not willing to look at right now. And there are things that, but here's the key is I've lived enough and practiced enough of what I'm talking about to know that it works. And so I'm just asking you to understand that it works. And that anything, again, that we damn out of God. And I want to make the point, there is nothing that is ungodly. And we can go really, really deep and say, what about this, that, and the other thing? And I'm looking down, I just lost 10 minutes in it somehow. So I want to make that point. So in this world, let's begin to shift at, okay, something I want to experience and something I don't want to experience. And then as we begin to become aware of, bring some shadow things to the light, that gives us the power to change. Otherwise, those things in the shadow, those things that we're unaware of, continue to either wreak havoc, but if they're good programs, good meaning these programs, these thoughts, these beliefs are leading to a more freer, fuller understanding life, then great. Okay, so it can be a struggle. It is a struggle at times, and there is help. So I'm going to skip over my example, and what do I want to show you next is the yin yang. Okay, this is an ancient symbol of wisdom. And what is it showing? Is that you can't separate what we call the shadow. There's always light in there in the shadow, and there's always some darkness. Now, why? Well, let's get down to it. We look at the shadow or the dark as the unmanifested, the unformed substance of God, and that's infinite. And then the light is simply what we're aware of, what we have created. So we could say, oh, the light this and the light that, but it's all light, it's all shadow. It's how are you looking at the orb? You know, we kind of like if this was a three-dimensional orb, crystal ball, so to speak, depending on which way you turned it, depends on what your experience is. And to me, that's what this is saying, even though it's two-dimensionally. No matter how you look at it. Now, how can we use this to better ourselves? Well, if we find ourselves in more of a dark substance confusion or unknown, then we got to go, hey, I know there's God in this. There's good in this. And then we declare, make it so. Show me. All right, God, source, spirit, show me the good in this. And it may not be right away, but we can all, I'm sure, think of experiences that at first seemed bad and then led to something a lot down the road. Oh, I'm actually glad that didn't turn out the way that happened. All right. Well, we're going to go a little long, I think, because I'm not going to rush. This next quote is a little long. I'm going to read to you. It's by author Ken Wilber. He says, the peculiar thing about a boundary. So really quick, going back to this, even though there's a boundary, folks, there's no boundary. Just like our teaching symbol. This is just a picture, but this is infinite. This is everywhere. All right. So he says the peculiar thing about a boundary is that, however complex and rarefied it might be, it actually marks off nothing but an inside versus an outside. For example, if we can draw the very slimmest form of a boundary line as a circle and see that it discloses an inside versus an outside. But notice that the opposites of the inside versus outside didn't exist in themselves until we drew the boundary of the circle. It is the boundary line itself, in other words, which creates a pair of opposites. Thus, if we can start to see the reason we live in a world of opposites is precisely because life as we know, I messed that up. Thus, we can start to see that the reason we live in a world of opposites is precisely because life as we know it is a process of drawing boundaries. And so going back to this idea, this is just us living life. And it helps us to live put boundaries in certain places. And then sooner or later, we're able to let those boundaries go. Meaning, what does that mean? Meaning I'm living in this particular way. This is how I function. And if I'm willing to do some spiritual inner work, meaning look at things in a different way, okay, then I can shift my boundaries. And then we see things that we didn't notice before. So therefore, again, the shadow becomes brought into the light. So, how do I want to finish this? All right. So what am I really saying here is let's use this with the idea of that. Let's practice seeing the divine in everyone and everything. Everyone and everything. The traffic, the flat tire, the person smiling at me from across the way just because they're thrilled, the baby crying, the baby laughing, all of it. And to use my hockey analogy, when you win, when you lose, right? It's the experience in the end. All right. From Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is a big part of our New Thought philosophy. He says, we see the world piece by piece as the sun, the moon, the animal, the tree, but the whole of which these are the shining parts is the soul. And that's what he calls God. From within or from behind, a light shines through us upon things and makes us aware that we are nothing, but the light is all. And when he says we are nothing, what he's saying is that we are individually part of the whole. We're not separate, is what he's saying there. Not that we're nothing and meaningless, but we are part of the whole. So let me bring this to a close. I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, so let's just go back through it. We're talking about the light and the shadow. Point one, there's no wrong, there's no good, and there's no bad. There just is. And what we need to do for a world that works for everybody, the best solution is for us to focus on ourselves, on us living the freest, fullest, most expansive life, love, of compassion, of empathy that we can, okay? And then allow others to do the same in their own way. Now, assuming if we're doing this from a place of love, we'll never have to worry about anybody ever hurting another, because no one who is in alignment with the energy and the vibration of the divine would ever even contemplate a thought. Like that wouldn't even make sense. So let us next take this into practice, into our daily lives, of whether it's daily, maybe it's weekly, but giving ourselves time to process, right? We are processing beings. And if we just gas down all day long and never use the break, no wonder we feel lost and stuck and in shadow all the time, because we're not looking at anything, let alone the shadow. And then let us remember that whatever situation we're in, it can change. Why? Because it's infinite. Again, think of it like the soil. If I don't like what's growing, okay, what we don't do is harvest what's already happening. That's like, again, saying, oh, I planted some negative situations. I don't want negative situations, just plants more negative situations. So let us start recognizing what we do want to experience and allowing the soil to do its thing. All right, I got to throw in a Rumi quote. I love him, and Rumi says, little by little, you will turn into the whole, sweet, amorous universe. Love will surely burst you wide open into an unfettered, booming new galaxy. Think about that. Who we are, literally becoming a galaxy. And in a sense, it does. We are. It's our world that's in front of us. That is our whole world, what we can see. So, again, I told you it was going to be a lot. I've tried to simplify it as much as I can. Take it light, literally. Take it light. Light as in easy and peaceful. So let's end on our affirmation. Again, I'm going to say it one time through. God is the light and the dark. God is the inner and the outer. God is all, and I am. So now I'm going to say it with a little more intention, purpose. Say it with me, please. I invite you. God is the light and the dark. God is the inner and the outer. God is all, and I am. What does it mean? I am the all in expression. So closing as we do with prayer, join me in knowing that it's all God. It's all good. And as I choose, and as I talk, I'm talking in the first person, as I choose collectively to go within, to take time to celebrate those things that I'm aware of, those things that we call light, godly, at the highest level. But that doesn't make me lower. It just means there's an infinity, an infinite amount of happiness, of joy that I can feel. And if I'm not feeling that, what I know to be true is I can do some work within. And maybe I need to ask for the help of a practitioner or a counselor or a therapist. And maybe recognize where some programming that's going on inside me that is, in a sense, keeping me stuck. Keeping me feeling as if I'm separate from all that is. But I know and I affirm daily that I am a perfect, unique, divine expression of the divine. As I know this for myself, I know this for my community of Centers for Spiritual Living, St. George. I know that for each member. I know that for each person watching, whether it's now, whenever it is. It could be 4 years from today. I hear the message. I know the message. That there's some things that I am not aware of, and that's always going to be as I'm living this life. And there's some things that I'm aware of, and I'm going to celebrate both because there is nothing outside of God. And so I churn in, I love myself. And as I love myself, I'm able to love others. And I then receive that back. And life is truly a beautiful experience. And so it is. Woo. All right.
And so it is indeed.
I didn't give you much time left. Sorry, we're going to go later.
Well, there you go. I have this whole list of things I want to talk about. I guess it will have to wait until Zoom.
Yeah.
I hope y'all will join us on Zoom shortly, especially our two new guests, Dana and Tina. so exciting to see new names pop up in the box. And Tina asked if this is recorded. Evidently, there was enough stuff. She wants to listen again. And yes, you can find it on our Facebook page pretty immediately. And it's also available on YouTube, but YouTube takes a while to make it ready. So there was a lot in that talk. So if you want to listen again, please check it out and do that. We want you to know that there are that this community is here to support you in whatever way you would like to be supported. The Community Care Circle helps in many ways. We've written letters. We've interacted with a young person who was in a special rehab place. We've, just done all kinds of things, taken people to doctors. We've, all of that kind of stuff. Please know that we are your community, and the practitioners are always ready and willing to do a prayer for you, with you, or for you. Please send us an email and let us help in that way. And again, we hope you will join us in the Zoom that starts in 3 minutes. If we're a little late, give us a little bit of time because we're running pretty close. And our computers won't let us do StreamYard and Zoom at the same time. So one has to end before the other can start. So we hope, and that you can go to our newsletter or on our website to get the link to join the Zoom conversation. And we are so excited because next Sunday, Mother's Day, is our first in-person Sunday service in 3 years. We are so excited. We've done a good job being online and capturing your attention, but now we want to be with you in person. So please come see us. The doors will open at 10:30. Service will start at 11 at the Masonic Lodge on Mall Drive. Again, newsletter and website has all the information. So we're just so excited that that's happening. And we are grateful for the abundant prosperity that's happening. Our community is really engaging with us and engaging in the prosperity flow. There are several ways to give through Zelle, which is bank-to-bank transfer, PayPal. You can, and by mail, you can take a picture of the QR code and it will take you to our website and give you all that information. So we are feeling abundant and we appreciate you sharing your abundance with us. And it's definitely flowing back and forth and preparing us for this new chapter that begins with May and in-person services next week. Okay, and the next 2 weeks will be Reverend Joe in person and then online again the following week. Unlearning the Fear of Darkness and Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It will be fun to see what Reverend Joe does with those two topics. And please be aware that we will be live streaming next week on Mother's Day if you can't make it to the in-person gathering. So we hope that you will, but if not, you can still check us out online. So Bill is going to bring us all up and we're going to do the closing affirmation together and then speed over to start the Zoom. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all that I do.
I am it. I embrace it and I share it.
Just the way that it is.
And just the way that it is becoming. Thank
you.
Bye. Woo!
Let me challenge everybody to show up and bring a friend next week. And mothers, you're going to receive a special gift from us. And when I say mothers, what are we talking about? Not just women. If you've been in that mothering role, please come and share your experiences with us, your time, and God, let's just get it on. I ought to make it happen tomorrow. Let's just fast forward to next week already.
Let's get it on. What's wrong?
No.
Wrong song.
Different atmosphere. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Peace.